Howdy sports fans, you good? Good. Revealed last night as part of DC's Fandom event, Gotham Knights is a new open world game set in the Batman universe from Warner Bros. Games Montreal. It picks up after the supposed death of Batman, with you also picking up the Batmantle as one of 4 members of the Bat family: Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood or Robin. Separate from the Arkham canon, which concluded with 2015's Arkham Knight, Gotham Knights isn't looking like the experience many were hoping for. Batman's supposedly dead for this one, but he's really not. Come on, he's definitely going to turn up. Let's be real here, guys, come on. And it also seems like a rather big departure from what made those games so great. Sure, it retains the basics, gadgets and beating some buggers up, but this doesn't look like the same Skullcathon that proved that Batman could hang in the video game space after years and years and years of weak video games. There's nothing wrong with changing a winning formula, that's not what I'm suggesting here. Success breeds complacency after all, and it's easy for things to get a little bit safe, predictable and boring. So the choice to pivot away from the Bat himself does make some sense. We just had a superb trilogy that concluded naturally, so to pick that up again might have felt a little bit forced. Similarly, rebooting from Asylum might have been a step too far, especially as the Batman universe is getting rebooted and retooled everywhere you look. But as much as I appreciate the brave decision to leave such a beloved blueprint behind and try something a little bit different, there's one thing about Gotham Knights that has me concerned: those damned floaters. Floaters are what I like to call the floating numbers that seem to be becoming more and more common as more and more games chase that difficult to nail action RPG recipe that keeps players playing and spending for longer. The likeliest of influences behind all this is Destiny, which has educated many studios on how to make a compelling for some, not me, grind since 2013. In the last 2 or so years, floaters have made their way into many popular open world franchises, which includes Far Cry and Assassin's Creed, as well as being made the basis for next month's Marvel's Avengers. That's hard to say, next month's Marvel's Avengers. To rationalise all the numbers flying everywhere, these games will also incorporate a gear and levelling system that punishes you from attempting to play the game freely by just stomping your ass down in certain areas, or just making those areas inaccessible. Now, in principle, there's nothing wrong with open world games more overtly adopting RPG elements, floaters and all. The Witcher 3, which is one of the most beloved games of all time, and rightly so, gated off areas for particular levels and featured a lot of floating numbers. It just seems to me though that this major open world formula shake-up is for the benefit of one thing: microtransactions. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is perhaps the most notorious example of an open world being monetized, Ubisoft incorporating time savers to speed up the grind, a grind they had arguably artificially worsened through the design of the world. You could play diligently, leveling up by ticking off the obscene amount of busy work, or you could just pay beyond your $60 to get to the real meat of the game. It's also worth looking at Gotham Knights' publisher for another reason to be hesitant over this change of tack. Middle-earth: Shadow of War, remember that game? Nobody does, it's weird. Published by Warner Bros. Interactive, was embroiled in some of the biggest controversies of this gen when it introduced microtransactions into its single-player experience. The Shadow War's endgame suffering significantly, with its grind being frankly absurd, without speeding things up with additional purchases. Oh, and it was the only way to see the true ending of the game too. That monetization was removed much later after they basically earned all the money, yet Shadow Wars still bears the hallmarks of the extra money making scheme. It's hellish grind. Let's not also forget that Warner Bros. Interactive also published Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery for mobile devices. Excessive monetization in mobile gaming is of course nothing new, yet Hogwarts Mystery takes this to a whole new level by strangling a child unless you expend energy, which can be earned over time or by, you guessed it, spending money. In addition, as normalized as excessive DLC in fighting games has become, Mortal Kombat 11 really took the bloody decapitated biscuit with roughly 9 million additional characters, skin packs and in-game currency. These are, of course, still very early days in the news and info cycle for Gotham Knights. Warner Bros. Are incredibly unlikely to mention anything about monetization plans until much closer to launch, if they mention it at all. If they do embrace microtransactions, they could just be cosmetic transactions, which I feel are going from harmless to genuinely harming the gameplay experience with just how pervasive and common they are, them superseding the traditional method of, just bloody unlocking them for playing the game. Remember that? Maybe I'm just getting too old and cynical, or maybe I've just seen monetization schemes creep up so many times in the past that I can call them from a mile off. I guess time will tell. For now though, Gotham Knights isn't putting a smile on my face. But what do you reckon, eh? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts down below, and thank you for watching. Do the subscribe and liking as well, that'd be nice, thank you.